Welcome into another edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla, occasionally known as your mayor of PHNX. This man next to me is my snake known as JJ, and of course, that is your vice mayor and your thunderstick, occasionally known as Jesse Friedman. Diamondbacks come off a tough series in Seattle where the offense definitely left us wanting a little bit more, but they did manage to salvage the finale on a strong performance by Brandon Pfaadt and keep at least from being swept like the Suns were swept. But starting pitching was solid for the Diamondbacks. It was just the offense that was missing in this series.
Yeah, it was not a great performance for the Diamondbacks by any stretch of the imagination. Their starting pitching, as you said, was quite good in that series in Seattle. Zach Gallen, of course, he left his start on Friday early, but certainly kept the Diamondbacks in the game. Slade Cecconi was outstanding on Saturday. Not enough offense there. The D-backs only score one run. And then Brandon Pfaadt on Sunday, just an outstanding performance from him. Six innings, 2 runs, sets a career high with 11 strikeouts. And you know, if Pfaadt doesn't go out and do that, we might be looking at a series sweep and a Diamondbacks team that is 12-17. Yeah. And again, no game at this stage in the season is must win, but 13-16 going into this 3-game set against the Dodgers feels a whole lot different than 12-17 would. So a really big win for the Diamondbacks yesterday, and some timely hitting late to get it done.
You said that a couple of times about this team, but that's right now where they are as far as teetering on the verge of it being more of a disaster than
towing the line with full-scale disaster. I think that's fair.
Because record-wise, things aren't great, right? Record-wise, of course, I think they're tied with the Padres essentially, or might even be essentially behind the Padres,
right?
And are in 4th in the National League West. And the Dodgers keep improving and becoming the Dodgers, so they're starting to make some, to add some distance between themselves and the pack. However, there's something to be said here about some of these encouraging, moments, even if the Diamondbacks lost, right? Slade going 6 innings, giving up 3 hits and 1 earned run is a godsend. And right now, with the way Slade is pitching, the way Brandon Pfaadt is pitching, the Diamondbacks aren't really missing the starting pitching element here when it comes to the team. Hopefully that can, increase some confidence in the clubhouse, increase some confidence among the offensive players to maybe not feel so much pressure to go out there and get it done, especially when they're able to win a 3-2 victory like they did on Sunday with Pfaadt on the mound. Like that's important, building towards a team that is more capable of winning close games than what we've seen so far out of this team this season. These close games, they kind of let slip away. You can almost feel like the pressure of the moment is too big for them, and that's the reason why we see a lack of performance there. And this is a team that just played in the World Series, so it's not like they're not used to pressure. I think we've
seen them come up in some pretty big situations in the not too distant past,
right? But the problem is, Jesse, is that again, this is why I think Torey was so dead set on trying to change that word expectation. Because the expectations this year have changed, and you cannot stop expectations. You just can't. You can try to relabel them as something else. You can try to say you're setting a standard, which Torey has done. It doesn't matter. Really, at the end of the day, the expectations are that this team, with the additions they made and the success they had in the postseason last year, should be better than they are. And honestly, like, the injuries are a good excuse as to the reason why they're not. But still, it is an excuse as to why they're not performing as well as, most people thought this team would be performing this year.
That Sunday win was so big for the Diamondbacks, just to be able to salvage a victory there. You feel a lot better about a 4-6 road trip than you do a 3-7 road trip.
Yeah.
And the way that it happened too, like this felt like the type of game that the Diamondbacks have been losing time and time again over the last few weeks. And in many ways, I mean, the way that the Mariners lost this game was pretty similar to how the Diamondbacks have lost some of their games this season. The Mariners jump out in front pretty much instantly. Josh Rojas hits his second leadoff home run of the series.
This man was a beast.
He was had a decent series for himself. The Diamondbacks did follow that the next inning. Christian Walker got a hold of one, tied the game. But then the Mariners, get back out in front. They take a 2-1 lead. And then this time it was the Diamondbacks jumping on the opposing team's bullpen, scoring a really big run. Ketel Marte coming through with that big RBI double in the 8th inning to put the D-backs out in front, the kind of big hit that has just eluded the Diamondbacks so many times throughout this season. And on the flip side, the D-backs bullpen was very, very good. Brandon Pfaadt, after those 6 stellar innings, you get Joe Mantiply in the 7th. He was good. A 1-2-3 7th inning, only like 10 pitches, I want to say. Ryan Thompson in the 8th, Kevin Ginkel in the 9th. It was, I mean, that's sort of the way that you draw it up, right? You want to get it to those guys with a lead. That's something the D-backs have not been able to do much recently, and they were able to close the door this time.
Great reception by the fans for Gino. From the Seattle fans, you can just tell how much he is loved by that fan base. And this was kind of the former player revenge series in a way, because Josh Rojas started the damn thing off with the first pitch from Zach Gallen of the series being hit for a home run. He has 2 home runs in this series. Mitch Haniger had that big grand slam, former Arizona Diamondback. And then especially in Sunday, you had 2 former Mariners and Gino with his huge RBI double that tied Sunday's game, and then Ketel with the go-ahead RBI double that gave the Diamondbacks the win. And you just know Paul Sewald would have shoved in this series if he was available. But there is some news in regards to Paul Sewald, by the way. We do have this tweet, just an update. It sounds like the Diamondbacks are going to kind of pull back a little bit on Paul Sewald, according to a tweet from Steve Gilbert, and according to this tweet from Jody Jackson. Alec Thomas played in the game yesterday, had a couple of at-bats and ran the bases. Still not playing defense yet. Paul Sewald will throw bullpen on Wednesday. So instead of another live game for the Reno Aces, he's going to throw a bullpen. Any concerns there? It sounded like Paul Sewald was maybe had a little soreness after his last outing in Reno. I
mean, you guys didn't really expect Paul Sewald to return without some kind of a setback, right? Given the Diamondbacks' injury luck in the last few weeks.
I've been saying it all.
That was off the table, Derek.
I've been saying it the entire time that the speed in which Paul Sewald was coming back was scary to me. I felt like it was entirely too fast. And the Diamondbacks, of course, they say, and this is true, they don't really have a say over how fast Paul Sewald comes back. It's a matter of Sewald and the medical staff kind of, coming together and seeing how he's feeling and then making sure that he's actually not lying about how he's feeling just to come back sooner. I just think that, again, with the state of the team right now, please take your time. Please, make sure that you are healthy before returning. And that goes to Sewald, the medical staff, the team. Right now, things are about as bad as they can be health-wise for this team. And the last thing you want is a setback caused by any of these players coming back too soon.
Yeah, and it is an interesting situation. You're right that the Diamondbacks were pretty aggressive in how quickly Sewald seemed to be tracking to return. And it was a similar story with Eduardo Rodriguez, right? Eduardo Rodriguez was down for a week with his lat injury before he started throwing again. And it's hard from the outside to gauge whether the Diamondbacks made some sort of mistakes here or if this is just the kind of thing that's sort of unavoidable where all signs are good, everything checks out, and then all of a sudden, there is a setback like this. The good news with Sewald is it doesn't sound like the oblique is really the reason for the setback necessarily. General soreness is the way that it was described. And he is going to pitch again on Wednesday. And we'll see where this goes from there. I still think
like that. I don't like general soreness.
I mean, that's the way this whole thing started,
what we heard
right?
In the first place.
But I think there's still a world in which Sewald returns within a week or two, and this isn't actually that big of a deal.
Look, I would be lying if I didn't experience general soreness every single day of my life at this point. However, I'm not being evaluated. And as you guys know, I'm already on the 15-day IL for my elbow. So things can't get any worse for me. But
what is that? That's retroactive to which date again?
I think it was retroactive to April 13th, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But I'd have to go back and do the
Okay, so you're eligible. You're eligible to come off, just not ready yet.
But I don't think that's going to happen.
Should we put you on the 60 days so we get that 40 man? Should we put you on the 60 days so we get that 40 man roster spot back?
That's probably a good idea at this point. If we can get that retroactive back to my birthday, I'm sure that's when my actual injury started. But let's go ahead and work the count with the numbers from this series presented by our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union. Here we finally have a look at a series numbers where the Diamondbacks looked like they lost the series. So I guess that's one thing that's comforting here.
Yeah, somehow it might. Yeah, D-backs fans might take comfort in the fact that they lost the series, and it actually looks from these numbers like they should have lost the series.
Right. I hate that, but I get it. It makes more sense this way. 5 runs, huh? Is that right? Five whole runs in 3 baseball games. They scored 5. I know for a fact that there's at least a dozen games where they've had more than 12 hits and more than 5 runs in a single game, I feel like. And this is what they're able to put up over 3 games, Jesse.
Our buddy Teo Mackey over at the Republic, he tweeted out after this series that the Diamondbacks scored 48. They scored 48 runs on this road trip, which is an average of 4.8 runs per game. Not bad. You see that number and you're like, yeah, the D-backs offense, like not great, but solid, right?
Yeah.
And then you realize the distribution of those runs, where the
40
Diamondbacks
of them
scored,
were in like 3 games?
scored 31 of those runs in 2 games, right? 17 against the Giants, 14 in that game against the Cardinals, and they scored 17 runs in the other 8 games of this road trip, which is basically an average of 2 runs per game. And yeah, this past weekend in Seattle, there wasn't the big 15-run outbreak. It was just 1 run on Friday, 1 run on Saturday, and then the 3 runs on Sunday, which wound up being enough. So continues to be a rough stretch for the offense, and the lack of consistency there very much continues to be a trend. But that's why, I mean, that game on Sunday, finding a way to salvage a game, even though the offense is not tracking, that was really, really big.
Mariners just won this series in every way. They outscored the Diamondbacks 11-5, out-hit the Diamondbacks 14-12. Runners in scoring position, they hit 500, 4 for 8. Diamondbacks 2 for 15.
The Diamondbacks' first hit with a runner in scoring position was Gino Suarez double that tied the game
on
in the
Sunday.
7th.
Yeah.
Yes, it took
on Sunday.
It took 24 innings of offense in Seattle before the Diamondbacks got their first hit with runners in scoring position.
The offense is just an absolute mess right now, and I will credit you because before we even started this series, you were like,
I feel like this is going to end in you blaming me for this.
No,
but
well, that's later. That comes in the Mailbag Monday questions. For now, I'm going to give you your flowers because you looked at the 3 pitchers the Diamondbacks were facing, and even though one guy had a 6 ERA, one guy has a 5 ERA, you're like, yeah, I don't like the way this bodes for the Diamondbacks offense. And you were right. 5 runs over 3 games. The bullpen for the Mariners was excellent against Diamondbacks. Let's take a look at those numbers once again. Starting pitching ERA, sick. 1.40 for the Mariners.
George Kirby was so good on Saturday.
I mean, you're going to take 3.18 from the Diamondbacks for starting pitching over a 3-game series, right? But, I mean, the Mariners just, again, they kind of outclassed them when it came to pitching. 1.40 starting ERA, 2.35 relief pitching ERA for the Mariners. Diamondbacks, again, 3.18 starting pitching, 5.63 relief pitching ERA. Not great.
In both of those, in the Friday game and the Saturday game, within 3 batters of the D-backs starter being removed, the Seattle Mariners hit a multi-run homer. On Friday, it was a grand slam off the bat of Mitch Haniger against Scott McGough. Granted, tough spot for McGough having to come in, when Zach Gallen was hurt. That was a difficult spot. But then on Saturday, you saw it again where Slade Ciccone did what Slade Ciccone did. It was an outstanding performance. And then Bryce Jarvis gets the 7th inning, and 2 batters in, Ty Francis hit a 2-run homer to really push the Mariners toward victory in that one. So, yeah, the bullpen has been it's no secret. It's one of the weaknesses of this team. We've talked about it for a while, and in those games where the D-backs are down, Torey Lovello has been using. He talks a lot about the positive role guys in the bullpen and the negative role guys in the bullpen. Those negative role guys have taken games that were pretty close and competitive and oftentimes put them out of reach for the Diamondbacks. And especially with, when you're only scoring 1 run a game, games get out of reach pretty easily.
Yeah.
But that was kind of a trend this whole past week, this whole road trip, where D-back starter does pretty well, but the moment they're out of there, McGuff, Castro, Kyle Nelson, back when he was healthy, those guys really struggle right away, and suddenly the game gets lopsided pretty quickly.
Known baseball GM Elise in the comments says, can we talk about Ryan Thompson and Kevin Ginkel throwing so little on this road trip? I get we weren't winning, but use them to keep a deficit close, not just once a week. And that's kind of what Jesse is talking about there. I know they're high leverage guys, but again, Torey, the fact that Torey focuses so much on guys having roles in certain situations, whether they're losing, whether they're winning, it doesn't seem to really be working out because, yes, like you said, so many of these deficits were close when the starting pitcher left, and the bullpen immediately, made it, especially for the way this offense was performing, made it an unwinnable situation. So, I don't know. Sunday was encouraging, though, and it definitely was a step in the right direction as far as the Diamondbacks being able to properly put together that bullpen, properly put together a win late. Of course, as we've talked about, I am a notorious liar. You cannot believe most things I say, but the numbers, they definitely don't lie. So let's take a look at Jesse's numbers from this series. Jesse, what do you got for this week's, or this game's edition of Numbers Don't Lie?
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little Brandon Pfaadt here. The number is 5.1, and 5.1 represents Brandon Pfaadt's strikeout to walk ratio since July 22nd of last year. July 22nd was the day that he was called up for the 3rd time last season, when it stuck and he was in the majors the rest of the way.
Phone call from good old Brent Strom.
Yeah, this is post Brent Strom phone call after moving from one side of the rubber to the other. A 5.1 strikeout to walk ratio is very, very good. And in that stretch, since July 22nd of last year, looking at qualified major league starters, that 5.1 number ranks 9th in all of baseball among qualified starting pitchers. The guys in front of Brandon Pfaadt on that list: George Kirby, who we saw on Saturday. That man can pitch. Really Zach Eflin has been very, very good with the Tampa Bay Rays the last couple of years. Tarek Skubal, who is one of my favorite pitchers to watch in all of baseball right now. Zach Littell of the Tampa Bay Rays, someone you might not know that, like many Tampa Bay Rays pitchers, shoves and is a lot better than people might realize. Sonny Gray, Freddie Peralta, Pablo Lopez, Logan Webb, and then at the number 9 spot is Brandon Pfaadt with his 5.1 strikeout to walk ratio. And what I keep coming back to with Pfaadt is, as long as he's striking out guys at an above average clip and he's walking guys at a well below average clip, he's probably going to find a way to be a pretty good starting pitcher. There's still too many mistakes in the zone. There's maybe always going to be a bit of a home run element to his game, given that he is a fly ball pitcher. But it's hard to have this many strikeouts and this few walks and not be a pretty effective major league starter. And I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic about Pfaadt's future for that reason.
Piece of Yoshi in the chat says, fire Derej. Who's Derej? Yoshi?
I think that's you. I think that's a little typo.
I wouldn't know that because he botched it. So.
J and K are pretty close. I
don't care. We don't accept mistakes around here, Jesse, and we definitely point them out. You know that. Damon knows that. Damon, you should be.
Brother, I know it more than anyone.
You want to jump on any mistakes being made here? I think Yoshi should get drugged.
I'm not going to say anything. How about this, Derek? I'm not going to say anything. No comment from me on Yoshi's spelling mistake, because I hope Yoshi would provide me the same leeway in the future if I make a graphic where I have a mistake on it.
He might give you that leeway, but we never will.
I absolutely am not going to do that. I am not going to, definitely not.
He won't give me that leeway either.
Yeah.
You crazy?
Yeah, that's insane to even think he would. Of course, we do thank Yoshi and all of you for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel right now, especially known troublemaker Mark Solera, who is here on his lunch break. We thank you for being here as well.
Yes.
If you have not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to do so now. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss whenever our wonderful shows go live. And leave us a like. We love when you drop us a like. Actually, more than us. We enjoy it. Gabby loves it when you drop us a like. So make sure to drop us a like here in the chat. Of course, we love our listeners as well. If you're listening on the podcast side, make sure you're subscribed on whatever is your favorite audio podcasting app. Leave us a review. We always appreciate those 5-star reviews. They definitely help us out a ton. Of course, make sure to check out the Grand Slam Jackpot promotion every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday through the Major League Baseball season over at our friends at BetMGM. If you did bet on Mitch Haniger to hit a home run on Friday, you might have made yourself a little bit of money, Jesse. You hit that Grand Slam, you can win your share of up to $50,000 daily. That's a daily prize, or a share of that prize with every other winning bettor. All you have to do is place a $10 or more bet on any player to hit a home run every weekend. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So maybe Mitch won some people some money. Of course, if you are not a user of BetMGM Sportsbook, sign up today. You can use our bonus code of PHNX when you do. Deposit at least $10 into your BetMGM Sportsbook account and place your first wager. You will receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If your bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Again, sign up for BetMGM and use bonus code PHNX. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through their Sportsbook mobile app for at least $10. You will receive $1,500 in bonus bets if the bet loses. Check out the show notes for full details, and now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Bonus bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY, 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
All right. Well, of course, check out Gila River Resorts and Casinos for a time that might be better than Puerto Rico. I don't know. I can't back that up. But what I can say is they do offer an authentic and immersive experience. We absolutely packed the house, by the way, for the PHNX Cardinals little draft party thing.
Packed the house and we held the line.
And we held the line.
Both of those
That's
things.
right. And we got our generational talent. So we do big things around here. Of course, great place to celebrate is over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos with their state-of-the-art gaming floor. They have over 800 slot machines, 15 blackjack tables, and Arizona's largest casino sportsbook. So you do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. And maybe we'll take a boys trip that I'll be involved with. We'll see.
We'll think about it.
Damon's still on the
Jesse
fence about that.
and
We're
me
waiting
and Jesse
your
Jr.
application. Yeah.
We'll have a conference. We'll have a call about it, Jesse. We'll talk business and we'll see if it's okay.
Yeah. Your people call my people.
Well, I mean, we do this a lot around here. This bit. I don't like it. I don't like this bit. But the bit I do like is the thing we do on Monday, because of course every year on this show is our year. Every month on this show is Black History Month. Every month on this show is Women's History Month. And every month on this show is Black Women's History Month. Every week on this show, Shark Week. Every day on this show, Passover. We already talked about that.
Yes. Yeah.
But of course, every Monday we go to the mailbag. Damon, let's go to the mailbag.
My mailbox, always something interesting in my mailbox. I try to get to everything in my mailbox, and then once in a while there's a letter that makes me go wow, wow. My mailbox.
All right, let's get our first question in here. It comes from our guy Travis Moore, of course, our first question asker, as always. Travis says, holding off my temptation to not ask about Corbin's struggles again. What's the problem over there? Oh, I'm sorry. Because see, I just go into it. You're right. We were going to, Damon dog, do me a favor. Get down on these questions with us. Can you
tell the people what happened first?
Yeah, first I'm gonna say I came in here, I screamed at Damon in the face, nose to nose. I was like, "You son of a bitch! You read questions on the Cardinals show? I saw you during one of your guys' 9-hour marathon episodes you did. You're a liar and a fraud." And he looked at me innocently. He said, "Derek, if you want me to read the questions, I'll read the questions." And I was still at a 10. I was almost at an 11.
Yeah, I want you to read the questions.
I had a hard time. Yeah, that's how I came back to him. I was like, yeah, you stupid bitch, read the questions. And then here I go, starting off the first question, just reading it. And he's looking at me like a dejected puppy that's been beaten for no reason. A small dog that has no idea why you spanked it. And here I am like the monster reading the question. So Damon,
let's
please.
get into the mailbag, huh, Derek?
Yeah, let's do that.
Sounds good. We got Travis Moore making me put 2 on 1 graphic here.
Crazy
Holding off his
amount of work.
temptation to not ask about Corbin's struggles again. I've long thought pitching development in draft picks has been an organizational weakness. Are the young pitchers up contributing at the major league level a treatment to the idea that it is becoming a strength? Jarvis, Nelson, Henry, Ciccone, Jameson, all of these guys have shown positive contributions, and I feel may even be missing one or two off the top of my head.
I think that's a good assessment. I mean, we have talked about how like it does feel like the Diamondbacks don't really develop pitchers that come from their system. Like typically their best pitchers have come from, other acquiring them in other ways. And it does. It feels like kind of like what we've said a little bit about the coaching staff. Like somehow this coaching staff has done a great job of making young players comfortable that when they come up, they are performing pretty well. Even if they eventually come back down to earth, like we saw out of guys like Ryan Nelson and Dre Jameson when they debuted, right?
Sure.
Like they were incredible out of the gate, and you just knew eventually, like these guys can't be aces like this, right? Like it almost seemed unbelievable. And even though they did kind of come back down to earth, they both have had some great success so far at a major league level, and I mean, part of it might be attributed to the coaching staff. Part of it might be attributed to the development in the organization.
Yeah, I think they're still a ways away from pitching development being a strength. I mean, Brandon Pfaadt is impressive and I think has a bright future ahead, but he's really the first starting like in-house homegrown starting pitcher that the Diamondbacks drafted and developed who's had some success, some sustained success in quite a while. And he obviously still has to prove that moving forward. So I think we're still a ways from that point, but there have been positive signs for sure. It's not just Pfaadt. You've seen some good things from Bryce Jarvis, even though he struggled a little bit more lately. Slade Ciccone, as we said earlier, was dominant on Saturday. Talk about having big shoes to fill with Merrill Kelly. I mean, taking that spot in the rotation and turning in 2 6-inning performances that have both been really, really good.
Better than what we've seen out of him at any point.
Yeah.
Slade's outperforming, I think, anybody's expectations of how he, of what he would do at a major league level.
And I don't think Slade's going to have a 1 ERA in the long term, but I do think that he looks better to me. He looks like a better version of himself than we've seen in the past. A lot of that has to do with the movement on his fastball. He's not a guy who gets much vertical ride on his fastball at all. There's not a lot of vertical movement there, but there's a ton of horizontal movement. His horizontal movement on his four-seamer, it's only a couple of starts, but generally these numbers don't fluctuate much, about 7 inches more than the league average. Horizontal. So there's a ton of run. There's a ton of arm side movement on his fastball, almost like Nathan Eovaldi, pretty similar fastball shape. And Eovaldi's obviously an accomplished major leaguer. So there's still a ways to go. He still needs to prove it over a longer period of time. But the Diamondbacks might have something in Slade Ciccone, and that would be another huge victory for them pitching development wise if that winds up being the case.
I was going to laugh at Jesse because, he's once again talking about vertical break and horizontal break.
Here I am.
And, he's the king of that. So
I'll never learn my lesson.
He can't stop. He can't help himself.
That's me.
All right, Damon, next question. What do we got?
We got from Brian Bobbitt, BB_Nitro on Twitter. Is there any obvious answer to fix the offensive inconsistency?
No.
There is absolutely not.
Next question.
Corbin being good at baseball.
I will say that, like, at times I do get a little bit frustrated as to how Torey manages one game versus the next, right? Like, there's some inconsistencies even with his managing, right? There's a close game late. I mean, these games in Seattle, they were fairly close until the bullpen came in and gave up, some big innings, big runs. And of course, that doesn't help the offense when they're struggling to be in the right mindset. However, I just think that in some cases, manufacturing runs and doing things like, especially late in game when things are close, to try to add on or to try to come back, it hasn't really been there at times. And there it is in certain situations, but it's almost like this team as a whole has this attitude, like once they get burned by something, they're not willing to try it again, right? Like, and I get the apprehension because right now, Torey as a manager is definitely trying to figure out how things work, but it's almost like what I was saying the other day about like their home run celebration stuff, right? It's not actually because of a fucking stuffed snake in the, in the dugout that you guys stopped hitting home runs, right? Like that wasn't the reason why at one point during last season you guys started hitting home runs, yet somehow the snake felt like it was to blame, like they were being too cocky with having a home run celebration item in the dugout, even though it's what every single team in baseball was doing last year. So they abandoned it as quickly as they adopted it, because you could feel like they were like, oh shit, that's bad. It's bad juju. It's not bad fucking juju. It's not real. It's just an item. And like, you guys need to overcome that thought process that like something you brought in, like a home run vest or something like that, is causing this team to all of a sudden, you know, be stagnant offensively. Right. So like, I don't know, but it does seem like a mental aspect there, because when you factor in things like that, you factor in Torrey kind of second guessing himself about making lineup changes late because he got burned having to have Scott McGuff hit in a big situation at one point. Right. Like, it does feel like this team is just kind of all over the place as far as, you know, the direction and their mental like confidence in their ability to win games.
I mean, I think it's a valid point that one way that they could get back on track offensively is to bring back a home run celebration of some sort.
They can't have this guy though.
Fully on board with that.
How fucking magnificent did Josh Rojas look with that trident? Come on, you guys. Like, that was amazing. We just saw the video. I could only imagine what the still images look like. He probably looked like fucking Namor, Aquaman, coming in with that shit. It was great. I love it. I want the Diamondbacks to have that, because it's a vibe. It's a confidence that it just brings to your team. It's a fun thing during a long season.
On a more serious note, there are no obvious answers. I mean, I think you just have to figure that this offense is talented, has a lot of hitters with good track records. I continue to believe that this is an above average offense at the end of the day. And obviously Corbin Carroll is a big part of that, and still have to believe that he's going to get things going, even though it's been really, really ugly here, especially over the last week or so.
How crazy is it that we're talking about Jesse's saying stuff like, I still think this is an above average offense, and they're like top 5 in runs scored.
That's
how
fair.
wild
You're
is
right.
that?
Right.
Don't do that. Those runs came in 6 of the games they played.
Like,
total.
it just feels bad.
I know.
You know?
Yeah. One other point I'll make on that note, there's a school of thought in baseball that if you're scoring a good number of runs, but you're not distributing those runs very well, as the Diamondbacks are, right, where they're scoring runs in bunches and then not really scoring runs in other games, there's a school of thought that like, okay, things are just going to kind of balance out in the end. Like, this is just, there's a level of randomness to this. And over time, if you continue to score a high total of runs over a long period of time, you're going to be able to spread those runs out fairly well in time.
Absolutely.
But I will also say that the Diamondbacks in those 2 games, the game in San Francisco, the game in St. Louis, a lot of the runs that they scored were against pitchers who were sent back to AAA the next day. You know, I think pretty much all of the Giants relievers that they used in that game were guys who've pitched significant innings in AAA, if not this season, then last season, not established major leaguers. Zach Thompson, they put 7 runs on him in that St. Louis game. So the D-backs do still have to prove that they can score runs against the best pitchers the opposing team has.
That's fair.
But
it doesn't. That's not the point, though. Like, the point is that when you ask why a team would run up the score on another team the way the Diamondbacks have, it's not to make them look bad. The purpose of it is to keep the offense rolling, because God forbid you tell guys like, hey, let's cool it.
Yeah, you're not going to let up. Yeah, you're not going to let up.
You don't want to let up and then have that literally like have your offense also stop and going forward. But no matter how many runs you score, no matter how good your offense is in one game, it doesn't mean it's going to carry over. And that's exactly what we're seeing against the good pitchers, against the elite relievers, especially.
Yeah, the elite relievers,
baseball.
that's something we haven't seen a lot of. The D-backs have really struggled against some of the better back-end relievers. And granted, I mean, all teams do, right? Like, that's why they're back-end relievers, but you'd like to see a little bit more success in those situations.
I think there's a mental block as well that comes with losing all these close games. Like, I do. That's not something that will ever show up like in like underlying numbers or analytics and stuff. Like,
well, and that's what I meant about
we got a savant stat for that, Damon.
Yeah,
it's you might not be familiar, but it exists.
Yeah, a lot of the Diamondbacks are blue in that area right now. But yeah, no, you're right though. I mean, like,
it's like the Padres last year. Like we keep talking about, they had a good run differential. They had a star-studded team from top to bottom, and they lost every close game they played the whole season. It clearly they got in their head about it.
Right. At the end of the day, as much as I love to bury myself in baseball savant, like, these are human beings, and yes, you have to execute when it matters most. You can't just bury yourself in the team stats or the reds and the blues of all the savant pages and everything. Like, yeah, they're real people, and the D-backs have struggled in a lot of the big moments, and in time, there's still good reason to believe that'll turn around.
And that's what I mean. Like, there's just kind of a thing where you look at this team, and some of the things that link one loss to the next is kind of not being strong mentally, especially late in games, not being able to perform, right? Like having a big lead and letting it slip away and not being able to put up any more runs throughout the game and just kind of letting an opposing team come back. Like, there's a lot of shared traits there amongst, the Diamondbacks' losses that kind of can be attributed back to them, like just lacking confidence, right? Especially when it comes to their production late in baseball games. Like, I don't know, obviously that has something to do with the bullpen as well. You can't just say, oh, it's the Diamondbacks falling apart late. However, you can say that like there is like just kind of a non-clutch factor right now to this team, and that's 100%. Really what feels like it's holding them back at times. All right, what else we got, Damon?
Next question comes from Michael Rokicki. What would you rather have, a fully healthy team or a fully functioning Corbin Carroll?
Why do we have to do this? Why do we? I hate this. Of course, a fully healthy team. Like, that's an absurd question. I get it. I would love a fully functional Corbin Carroll, but this team isn't built on one guy being the guy. This team is truly built on them handing the baton off to the next guy and having confidence in the fact that on any given night, any member of the offense can get hot and be the driving force behind a win for this team. We've seen it from so many different guys already this season. So I don't think the team's success relies entirely on Corbin Carroll getting right again. Would that be great? Yes. Would what someone said in the chat, like, why isn't the team using the fact that Corbin Carroll's speed is there to bunt more and have him just get on base in some way, shape, or form? I'm sure it's something they're considering. However, at this point of the season, they're more concerned about trying to get him right, get him normal at bats.
You're not going to get him right by just having him bunt.
That might even make things maybe a little worse, because then he starts feeling the loss in confidence from the coaching staff in him, and then it just impacts his confidence even more.
Yeah, I mean, he's already batting eighth, right? I think he's batting eighth again today.
Right.
D-backs have already made that move. A few days ago, maybe a few weeks ago, I think I might have picked Corbin Carroll or been more likely to pick that. But at this point, the injured list is so long that the impact of having all of those guys back was really pretty enormous.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the rotation tomorrow being fully, Gallen, Kelly, Montgomery, Erod, Brandon Pfaadt. You throw Slade Ciccone and Ryan Nelson into the bullpen. Wonder what that could be like. Sewald back at the back end. Alec Thomas, you get his defense and center back. Geraldo Perdomo, the stability he brings at shortstop. Dre Jameson, heck, coming up big in a maybe easier your bridge to the last few relievers there or something. So
Dre Jameson, I don't know how outspoken he is in the clubhouse, but he truly could be like the confidence guy. The vibes confidence guy.
There's a certain fire about him last year, for sure.
In his blood. In his blood. Jesse, yes.
I don't know how I made that comment and didn't make the connection.
Why did you not expect me to dunk that? That was the perfect assist.
It was an alley-oop.
But of course, no, there is something to be said about a guy like Dre who couldn't wait to tell us, what his 40 time was, while injured, exuding that confidence amongst his teammates, right? Tommy Pham already had a hysterical interview his very first day with the White Sox, where apparently they wanted to shoot one of those videos of Tommy Pham getting the call up. What they do with the young guys? They wanted to shoot one of those, and I don't think Tommy Pham was with it. But
the thought of filming something like that with Tommy Pham that'd be incredible. That'd be incredible content.
He's like, oh, word? Cool. All right, I'm going to go get my stuff.
I do believe the White Sox won the first two games that Tommy Pham played in. So there is a level of X factor there. But
he's the X factor. He's in there screaming and calling people MFers in the clubhouse right now, getting those guys fired up. But yes, to answer the question, I think we both agree. As much as we want Corbin Carroll to get right, it's a fully healthy team by a mile.
And you still figure that
maybe that counts for Corbin.
Corbin can get right in time too.
Exactly.
Even if it's not today, you still betting on that to happen at some point.
Ryan Simmons forgot that Erod is even on the team.
Same.
Yeah. I mean, that was for a while, that was the biggest move the D-backs made in the offseason, and you haven't felt his impact at all. I mean, Jordan Montgomery, the other biggest move, probably the biggest move at this point, he's only made 2 starts. Like you have Eugenio Suarez so far has not been an upgrade over what the Diamondbacks had at third base last year, or at least if an upgrade, a very small one. So you haven't really felt, outside of Jock Peterson, you haven't really felt the impact of much of what the D-backs did this offseason.
It's fair. It's fair. All right. What else we got, Damon?
We got a 4th question here from Stoned Fox 360 on Twitter. Do you think the Diamondbacks would even consider sending Corbin to Reno to get right?
I think they would.
You think they would?
I think they would. And I say that from a perspective of, I don't think anything is above this organization, like feeling someone is costing them potentially wins, right? And I'll
like
say
they've been aggressive in making those kind of moves.
Right, in making those kind of moves. And I think if there's anybody that they would give an extended amount of time to, it would be Corbin Carroll. He is the future of this franchise. He is currently the kind of the face of this franchise, even though you could argue Ketel Marte with his performance and everything like that is the actual superstar here. But Corbin Carroll is the name that has become a household name in Major League Baseball. A lot of people know. So I think that they would refrain from doing it as long as possible. But if he went through a very long slump and was truly just not being productive, we could see that. And I think Reno might help. I think that Reno could help in several ways. I mean, I don't think Corbin doesn't take this seriously. I think he is the most dedicated baseball player they have in the organization as far as addressing, the struggles that he's having and trying to get right. But I think maybe it's just a matter of maybe too much, right? Like too much pressure on himself, too much, I guess, overthinking the situation and how he can rectify it himself. So, I mean, maybe going down to Reno might not be the best answer, but I mean, I could definitely see the Diamondbacks considering it.
April 25th last year, that's the date that Jake McCarthy was sent down. Jake McCarthy and Corbin Carroll in 2 very different positions as far as this franchise is concerned, right? McCarthy's been up and down a decent amount the last couple of years. To do that with Corbin Carroll would be a bold move in a lot of ways. I mean, this is a guy you just gave a $111 million extension to, someone who last year certainly showed that he deserved every penny of that and more. I don't think you're close to making that move with Corbin Carroll. I wonder if they would maybe take the mystery IL stint approach, where maybe if he's a little banged up in some way, I mean, maybe he is legitimately, there's something behind the scenes that we don't know about. I don't think there is, but with veteran players or players that are in a big standing, in a prominent position within a franchise, you see that kind of thing more often. So I don't think the Diamondbacks would do that with Corbin Carroll, and I don't think they're going to need to, or even really have to consider that. I still think that Corbin is going to turn this thing around, but it's a valid question at the very least.
Elise she never does anything to help her case about us alleging she's a Major League Baseball GM, right? Here she comes with, if anything, Corbin would be injured, rehab in Reno. I think they try that first, right as the words were coming out of Jesse's mouth at the same time.
And surprised she didn't say, I think we'd try that first.
Yeah,
and really put herself out there.
Yeah. Mike Hazen.
The other thing real quick is that Jorge Barrosa and Alec Thomas are both hurt right now. So it'd be an unthinkable move to make right now. The Diamondbacks just, they need Corbin, like they need Corbin Carroll. They don't have anyone in Reno that I think you'd want to bring up in that spot. So it's something you couldn't even consider right now. And even once those guys get healthy, it's still not something that I would expect to happen.
Benjamin Hunley says, can someone please talk about how good Jake McCarthy has been? Yes, Jake McCarthy has been incredible. He's currently hitting 300 with a 721 OPS. And I think that, Jake McCarthy is the exact reason why the Diamondbacks don't want to get rid of players, right? This is the exact thing you would see from Jake on another team, just like we're seeing with Josh Rojas. And look at how much the Diamondbacks ended up needing him with the amount of injuries that they've had this season. Jake's been a bright spot right now for an offense that really isn't performing great. He was 0 for 3 yesterday, but he has been very good so far. this season. And I mean, again, like Slade, he's kind of been asked to come up in an emergency role, and for the most part has performed in a way where like that his contributions aren't the problem right now with this team. And just like Slade, he's definitely helping hold things down in the meantime.
Jake's hard hit rate is below 20%, which is very, very low, frankly. So I think, I don't want to take anything away from what he's done. He's really come up big. Like Jake McCarthy's had a few really big hits early in the season, which is something that D-backs haven't had a lot of. But I'm not so sure that he can maintain what he's done to this point in the season with what some of the batted ball numbers are looking like. So still early in the season for sure. The results have been good, but still kind of need to see more before I'm willing to call this, like the Jake McCarthy of the latter half of 2022. I think we're still a little ways from that.
Piece of Yoshi is suggesting that we give, I think, Corbin the Trey Turner treatment where we all stand and applaud him. And I still hate that more than I hate most ideas that I've ever heard in my life. Trust me, Trey Turner has said that he very much appreciated it and he felt encouraged by the fans. And I still think it's one of the most patronizing things that a fan base could do. Hey, you're doing bad right now. Let's all applaud him.
Yeah,
you can do better.
It's a fine line. Like I think there are some players in the league that would, like Trey Turner, like really appreciate that. And Trey Turner was better for the Phillies the rest of the way, although he wasn't very good for them in the NLCS, as we all saw. But I'm not really sure that Corbin is the kind of guy who would necessarily love that. But I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that a lot. All right. Speaking of notorious troublemaker Piece of Yoshi, we got another question from him. What do we got?
We got Piece of Yoshi here saying, do you think Corbin Carroll will return to form if we sacrifice Jesse?
Okay, so I have questions. Do we mean Jesse or Jesse Jr. first? Because you don't know. We're not sacrificing
Jesse Jr.'s off the table.
He's off
right?
the table.
We'll consider
sacrificing
Jesse Friedman. We'll consider it.
In what way do we have to sacrifice him? Are we talking about murder? Are we talking about it in a different sense?
I was thinking like Aztec style.
Like, do I have to give him to Mike Luke as a co-host now and he has to go cover U of A? Like, if I get Petey in return, then that might be, I'm not going to get rid of you. I'm just saying, if we have to sacrifice you and I get Petey in return, then it might ease the pain of losing you. But
I refuse to comment on.
I would absolutely sacrifice Jesse for Corbin Carroll to return to form, and that means me like having to write and go to games again, and that sucks. But I'd do it. I mean, I like going to games. Don't get me wrong, but this guy lives at Chase Field. I can't express that enough. He's always there. You're always there. It's kind of gross.
Yeah. Are you done talking about giving me away to someone else?
No, not at all. I think we have another question. What does Jacob have here? We got another question.
Jacob Schultz. With the Suns getting swept, the Salt Lake City Hockey Club leaving Arizona, and the D-backs starting below 500, my question is, why does God hate Phoenix? Follow-up question, how can we blame Jesse for it?
Great question, Jacob.
Oh my gosh.
I love this question. God hates Phoenix for a very good reason, and that's because he decided to make it 125 degrees here in the summer.
It's actually a
valid
point.
We just put up fucking houses and concrete, and we were like, ha, screw your desert. And he was like, humans aren't supposed to live there. And we were like, we'll live where we want to, God. And he was like, oh, okay. Yeah, see if you guys ever win more than one championship. Boom, right? Roasted. Literally, during the summer, we get roasted. But yes, really, at the end of the day, the big question here, can we go back to that question one more time, Damon, in regards to Jesse's role here? They want to know how we can blame you for all of it, Jesse.
You expect me to comment on that?
Well, I actually have, I want to say like a good reason, because things were on the upswing and then you moved here, right? So I want to blame your presence, but then you were there at games when the Diamondbacks were going to the World Series, so I'm conflicted.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add.
Yeah?
But
Okay, that's
yeah,
it.
you know,
His existence is the reason why all this bad stuff is happening. No, it's because Jesse loves local sports so much that's something had to bring him down. He's always so chipper. He has the best attitude of anybody I know. So it's just life's way of chipping away at him and making him as miserable as it's made me. So we thank you guys, of course, for your questions. We'll get back to some more, but we did want to let you know that if you want to join us for some of these baseball games, including tonight's game against the Los Angeles Dodgers, you can get your tickets last minute at Game Time. Save up to 60% by buying last minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy shows, and so much more. You can save even more with the exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. And you can also check out what your view is going to be from the app. It's an aesthetically pleasing app, very simple to use. It gives you lots of options, so that way you know exactly when they say obstructed view, you'll know what's obstructing your view with our friends at Game Time. So make sure to check them out. They do offer the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Also, make sure to join Damon over at Illegal Pete's. He's always there, and they always have the strongest margaritas in Arizona. They also have a wonderful patio. I know it's hot. I know it's going to be 95 degrees, but that is patio season weather, my friends, because remember, it's going to get way hotter than that. So you might as well enjoy this weather while you can, and do it over at Illegal Pete's. They have irresistible drinks and mouth-watering food that will fill all of your heart's desires. And of course, also go join Damon. Get the reverse nachos. You'll have a great time. Illegal Pete's is here to bring you a win with their legendary sound check deal. Bring in your ticket stub from any ticketed event and get a draft beer or house margarita for just a penny. Illegal Pete's wants to celebrate with you. Whether it's a pregame or postgame party, they got you covered on all your game day needs. Must purchase an adult entry to redeem Illegal Pete's sound check deal. Illegal Pete's, your go-to spot for burritos, buddies, Damon, and beer. All right, we got some more Mailbag Monday questions. What do we got?
More mailbag. Question number 7, Zach Greinke question mark.
Just Zach
That's
Greinke
from
question mark?
Bazozo.
Zach Greinke. Yeah. I mean, in what sense? This could go so many different ways. Do we want to call upon Zach Greinke to save this franchise? I don't feel like we want to do that at this point. So do we just want to Zach Greinke? Yes. The answer is yes. Right?
I guess we could have the is Zach Greinke a Hall of Famer question?
I feel like he should be in the Hall of Fame for his responses to reporters' questions alone. Like he could have his own wing in the Hall of Fame.
He could,
just based on those interactions.
Yeah. You're probably right. We'll have to reach out to Josh Rawitch and pitch the idea. Derek is happy to help curate that. Josh,
I'm all over that.
I think Zach Greinke's a good pitcher, and he probably belongs in the Hall of Fame.
I think the question was whether we should sign him.
Is that the question?
I'm pretty sure.
No. That's no to that. Yes to the Hall of Fame.
He wasn't real good last year. Greinke, 2022, super impressive stuff. Greinke struck out 4.8 batters per 9 innings in 2022. It's still at a 3.68 ERA in 26 starts, which is absolutely wild. But last year he had a 5.06 ERA. He is 40 years old. Yeah, he's 40 years old now. I think.
Point by Ryan in the chat. Yeah. We do need his bat in this lineup.
We need his bat. That's true. That's true. I mean, maybe we can get him or Mad Bum as a DH. I don't know. But all right, that wasn't funny. That last thing I said wasn't funny. What else we got there, Damon?
Next question from Cogs here. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to inevitably throw a first pitch. Is he going to throw a strike? Will it be from the mound?
Oh, it's definitely going to be from the mound, right?
I think he'll go right off of the mound, like right on the edge of the mound, and I think it will be a strike.
Yeah,
because it's generational talent.
There's that. Of course, we know that. Is it because of his respect for the game that he wouldn't dare actually step on the pitcher's mound? Like he's not a pitcher, so he would know better than to like touch the rubber. Or are you just thinking in general he doesn't want to go all the way back that extra 2 feet?
I think he's gonna be wearing some like sick ass white shoes, some like Gucci shoes, and they're gonna be like, "No, I'm not stepping on that mound. What are you, crazy?"
I'll be over here on the grass.
I think he's gonna throw 74 miles an hour. Feels about right, but I think he's gonna miss glove side. I don't know if he has he's not a quarterback. Right? I don't know that much about him.
74
No.
on a pitch to like an opening pitch is hard.
That is pretty hard. That's
send him
fair.
to
But he's
Reno.
an NFL player.
Like
he's
that's
not
Jesse,
going to
that's
go up there and
full
lob it,
that's
right?
full wind up. Like you're getting everything into it. Full extension.
Yeah.
I bet Marvin Harrison Jr. can throw more than 74 miles an hour. Maybe, but you're right. For a first pitch, like you're not trying to get the rookie catcher killed, right?
Right.
Like 67. Let's go 67, but I stand by that he will miss glove side.
I need
So we'll
I
see
need
what
the
happens.
StatCast data on that pitch when it finally happens.
Yeah.
Nicholas with the great idea. He says we need MHJ to throw that first pitch on Saturday, though, when we have our first takeover, because we are taking over Chase Field this Saturday.
True.
Gabby Moreno,
That would be
bobblehead
so
night.
electric.
We're gonna have a great time. We're gonna have a great time. The lads are getting marg bats. I don't know if you've heard about that, but the marg bats are happening.
Can we
and
start a hold the line chant if
we're
he
going
actually
to
throws
start
out
a
the
hold
first
line.
pitch?
We might just start a hold the line chant just because we did it, because we held the line. That's a better chant. Held the line. Yeah. Held the line. We did the thing. All right. What else we got? Let's get on to our next question.
Next question comes from Trash Hound on Twitter. Jesse, can you please explain how they calculate the WAR stat? I am confused. Also, my husband surprised me with seats behind the dugout at the Sunday game in Seattle. We are in Christian Walker's home run highlight video. It was amazing, and they won.
First of all, fantastic job to your husband for not only surprising you with seats behind the dugout, but getting you in the background of a highlight. Like that's one of the best feelings as a sports fan. Besides catching the home run ball itself, being in the background of a homer like that, fantastic. Jesse, explain WAR. The whole thing from start to beginning.
All right. Well, our 1 hour show just became a 2 hour show. No, it is. I mean, I can give you the formula. The formula for wins above replacement: batting runs plus base running runs plus fielding runs plus positional adjustment plus league adjustment plus replacement runs. All of that divided by runs per win. So there you go.
You guys got that? Everyone get that?
That easy.
It's literally addition, division.
Do you want me to get the chalkboard? I want to figure this out?
I think a sixth grader could do this, Derek.
Really?
I mean, this is a low level of math.
Yeah.
No, so, I mean, the literal calculation itself, as you heard, it is just addition and division, but the way that those numbers are calculated, a little bit more complicated than that. But the general idea is that you add up the number of runs. All of these things are measured in terms of runs. So how many runs have you been worth as a hitter, as a base runner, as a fielder? There's a positional adjustment, as you heard, because if a catcher has an 800 OPS, that's a lot more valuable than if a DH has an 800 OPS, right? So that is also factored in. They have they have numbers that are built in that are just kind of standardized across all hitters that they insert into those. And then you divide it all by runs per win, because once you've figured out how many runs that player has been worth, then you just divide it by how many runs it takes to win a baseball game, which is, I think, around 9. If a player is worth 9 runs, then that translates to about one WAR. So you do that division to finish the calculation. So yeah, it's complicated. I can't really get too deep into it.
Now explain why Baseball Reference has 1 WAR and why Fangraphs has another WAR.
Yeah, they are calculated differently. They weight different things. So like Fangraphs, for one of the biggest differences is defense. So Baseball Reference uses defensive runs saved, whereas Fangraphs uses outs above average. So that's a difference. And then they have different ways of weighting other things as well. I think Fangraphs really values walks a lot. So players who walk a lot will probably be higher on Fangraphs than they are in Baseball Reference. But yeah, I think I've already lost like half of our audience. So I'm just gonna stop
I hope you're
talking.
happy. I hope you're happy. We're gonna cover FIP next time. All right, what else we got?
We got last question here.
Last question
From Don's Bread. Diamondbacks Hunger Games. Who wins? Who's the love story? Who gets the most support?
Oh, wow.
All right. Well, that one was for me, and this one is for you, Derek.
All right, I guess I will handle this one. I think what we're looking for in the winner of Hunger Games is obviously a well-rounded skill set. So I think,
sure.
Obviously when you talk about who would get the most support, Jesse, in Hunger Games, it's a televised event, right? People are watching.
Yeah.
So you can get sponsors to send you things to help you. And then a little metal little thing comes down and drops them off like medicine or weapons or whatever. So that person receives aid. I feel like Geraldo Perdomo
I
would
was just about to say.
receive the most aid. I think Geraldo Perdomo would be the star of this entire thing. And I mean, as much as I want to say he would go on to win it, I feel like Corbin Carroll is going to come out of nowhere and do something to still, even though would not be the favorite here, still get enough support and still have the well-rounded skill set to win.
Well, Corbin's elusive. So
That's
when you're going
yeah.
after him,
Right.
he's out of there already.
Exactly. See, now, if most of you don't know this, but I won the Hunger Games Discord for our PHNX diehards. And I won it ultimately because Jacob, a.k.a. Pfaadt, stepped on a landmine. That's how I didn't even put the landmine down. Jacob just stepped on it and boom, he's done for, right? So I think there's some savvy there. I think Corbin has the speed. There's some other things. I think the biggest question is, who's the love story? And I think the answer is obviously Gabby Moreno and Lourdes Gurriel Jr.
Yeah. Even I could figure that one out. Yeah.
Knew that. I mean, the nuzzling in the dugout. What more? I need to see more of that. I want to know the ups and downs of their relationship. I'm very much interested in the reality show of those two being a love story. So I think that pretty much sums that one up. And again, thank you to Mark for always being our troublemaker when it comes to asking questions. Yeah. It gives me a chance to really shine here on the show, which I don't ever do. And as Piece of Yoshi has pointed out several times in the chat, all of my mistakes. So I thought we weren't doing that today, but I do appreciate him keeping me honest here. Of course, a great way to keep you honest is with a good financial institution. And I say that because you need to save your money, right? Can't go out there spending your money all frivolously. You can do it on our events and our shirts and our merch and our diehard membership and all of that, but don't do it anywhere else. Make sure to save your money. And a great place to do so is with Desert Financial Credit Union. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union. You can look to Desert Financial for checking and savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and so much more. They got me started on my home ownership journey, my savings journey, and they get you started as well. When you open a free checking account online, you can get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. All right, and also a great way to get over some of these losses the Diamondbacks have been experiencing. It's with our friends at OG's. Whether life is good or whether life is bad, you can celebrate with OG's. They have a wonderful line of products, including their Sleep Edition gummies. They have their new OG's Naturals for vegans, their Big OG's for guys like me, and so much more, including their OG's Happy Balance, which I am a big fan of as well. To learn more about OG's gummies and where you can find them, head on over to ogsbrands.com. Must be 21 or over to enjoy, and please enjoy responsibly. Before we get out of here, of course, we do want to thank you guys for all of your Mailbag Monday questions. You guys make this show what it is. You guys make Mailbag Mondays always a wonderful experience. Let's take a look ahead at the upcoming series that starts tonight with the Los Angeles Dodgers. I know most people aren't excited about the thought of Dodgers fans once again taking over Chase Field. So let's show up and show out. Let's come out and support this team. Here are our probable pitchers for this series. Diamondbacks have Tommy Henry going in Game 1 against James Paxton. They have Jordan Montgomery going in Game 2 against Landon Knack. And in Game 3, we got Zach Gallen, hopefully, going against Yoshinobu Yamamoto, which is going to be an incredible pitching matchup there in the finality.
Don't do that.
I want to do that.
Don't put Yoshi in the same level of Zach Gallen.
I'm just saying it's going to be fun. Can't it just be fun? Can I have a good time?
He has the worst ERA on this list, Derek. I'm looking at it right now. Landon Knack is better than Yoshi Yamamoto. James Paxton is better than Yoshi Yamamoto. You're crowning this guy and putting him on Zach Gallen's level, and it makes me sick.
I'm excited to see the pitching matchup, and I hope Zach Gallen is healthy for it. That's all I said, for the love of God.
Yamamoto's been pretty good lately.
He has. Thank you. Don't listen to
about strikeout to walk ratios 37 to 6. Start his major league career.
Zach Gallen, any updates? We think he's still going to be good. He said he was going to be good, but
yeah. I think we might find out more about that today. Whether Zach Gallen is set to go for that Wednesday start, I think it'll depend on how his bullpen goes between outings. So yeah, that's still sort of TBD on Wednesday whether Gallen is going to go or not. But either way, it sounds like this isn't a major injury, and if he did miss this start, he could be back in there maybe for his next start. I don't think it's an extended absence or anything like that. So.
Fingers crossed. All right.
Fingers crossed.
Well, a great way to get you ready for this series is to check out On the Record with Jesse Friedman. He had LA Times beat writer Jack Harris on, which...
Yeah, Jack was great.
Jack is awesome.
We talked about whether this is a big series for the Dodgers, like whether Dodgers players are viewing this series as being a little bit special given what happened in October and how disappointing that was for them. And he had some really interesting insight on that question and a whole lot of other things. I think that's up now. And if it's not, it will be up probably momentarily after our show ends. So yeah, be sure to check that out on YouTube and we'll throw it over on the audio only side as well.
And also we would like to just give a shout out to our PHNX Coyotes crew that just recorded their last episode of the PHNX Coyotes podcast as we know it. It's devastating to us here. And I don't even want to get into how sad the loss of our NHL team has made me personally. I just want to say that the job Leah, Craig, and PD have done on that show has been incredible and an inspiration to me so many times. PD had the audacity to tell me that I helped bring out the funny side of him. That's ridiculous to even say. PD is one of the most incredible, one of the most creative people I've ever met. And not to mention how much Craig has meant to our entire office with his experience, with his professionalism, with everything that he brings to sports and everything he's brought to that Coyotes beat. Not to mention how incredible Leah has been and how much Leah has meant to this office. I know most of you may or may not know that she has a much bigger role around here behind the scenes, and she has done just an amazing job of hosting that show with those two wild men as her co-hosts, somehow keeping that show on track at times, and just being an absolutely delightful host of a live show. So I, just from a personal note, am going to miss that show very much. But I'm more than anything going to miss, just the community that team created and just everything that they brought to PHNX. Like the amount of times we were in a staff meeting where the Coyotes beat was credited for being the biggest contributors to our diehard community,
the model,
or being the model for
Absolutely.
the way that they want these shows to ran. It was, and it was well deserved because they really are the model of what we want to build here at PHNX.
Yeah. I mean, very well said. Agree with all that. We're gonna miss not only the hockey team, but I mean, for me, honestly, as someone who's never been a huge hockey fan necessarily, I'm gonna miss the PHNX Coyotes show. Probably more than I wasn't necessarily watching Coyotes games day in day out, but I was watching that show a lot because they're just three people that you love to hang out with, right? And as someone who works here, I've gotten the pleasure of being able to hang out with them like in person and see them in the office here every day, and they are every bit as delightful in person and fun to be around as they appear on that show. So we know they're going to do great things moving forward, and excited for their futures as well here at PHNX. Is not the end for those guys around here. So tough day for all of us though, seeing that show officially come to an end.
I want to say that Leah made a video package of the highlights from their show. And if you haven't watched the entire show or you don't intend to, I implore you to at least check out the video package that they aired towards the end of the episode. The amount of inspiration I drew from just standing there, just watching the collection of clips that team has put together in a short time really made me feel inadequate. Like I'm not doing enough over here for the Diamondbacks beat. Like that's how good of a job that they do. That
Jesse and I were just talking about that actually
you. Shut up, because you're part of this. What I meant was what an inadequate job the three of us are doing.
Whoa there.
I'm just bringing you into it. No, but I mean seriously, some of the moments they've had are like not only my favorite of PHNX, but like when it comes to a show covering a beat like they do, it's some of my favorite moments I've ever seen. They had our office filled with dogs. They were in the GM's house for Christmas doing a show in front of his fireplace.
Yeah, that was cool.
PD just hangs out in the parking lot and stalks members of the team. Like there's just so many incredible
none of those
moments.
Interviews were scheduled. That's just PD like chasing guys down in their parking lot on their way into the arena.
Everybody just loves PD so much. It's hard to tell them no. So I just wanted to once again just say what an awe-inspiring job they did of covering, the move of this team and being such a primary source for information, and just overall how entertaining they made that show. So like Jesse said, I'm going to miss the show almost more than I'm going to miss the hockey team. But
I am going to miss the show.
I am going to miss the show more than the hockey team. But
yeah,
make sure to stay tuned because we have some big things coming up for everybody around here, and we're very excited to again see what all of those wonderful people have coming up next. But again, we thank you guys very much for joining us here for the PHNX Diamondback Show. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Cap_Caveman. This maniac next to me is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, we are all in awe of this man behind the Mac. It is the people's producer, Damon Dog. You can follow him at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. And we are Damon's Dogs.
Bark, bark.
Our show is at PHNX_DBacks, but of course, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thank you again for your time. Appreciate you stopping by. We will see you tomorrow with a post-game show. And until then, have a wonderful night. Go Diamondbacks. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when Brandon Pfaadt shoves.
We all silly like the mayor.